Listen, I know what you are thinking. Another war story. Another tale about some dead soldier who probably was not even that impressive when you actually look at the facts. Well, sit down and shut your feeding ports. Because this one is different. This one kept me awake for 3 cycles straight when I first heard it. And I have been alive for 216 standard years. So trust me when I say I do not scare easily anymore. My name is Vorath. I am a historical consultant for the Galactic Archives. Boring job, right? Wrong. Because sometimes, just sometimes, you stumble across something that makes your secondary heart skip a beat and your scales itch with the kind of fear that our ancestors felt when they were still prey animals hiding in caves. This story, it is about a human, a single human. His name was Marcus Hale. Yeah, go ahead and laugh. Marcus. Sounds harmless enough, does it not? Like someone who would fix your transport pod or calculate your taxes. But here is the thing about humans that the rest of the galaxy learned the hard way. Their names do not mean a damn thing when it comes to how dangerous they actually are. The war I am talking about happened 347 years ago. The Cravantane Empire decided, in their infinite wisdom, that humans looked soft, easy pickings, a nice little species to add to their collection of servant races. The Cravantanes were apex predators, 7 feet tall, covered in bioarmor that could deflect most energy weapons, and they had been conquering worlds for 6,000 years. So naturally they thought Earth would be a cakewalk. Spoiler alert, it was not. I was going through some old battle logs last cycle, doing my usual mind-numbing archive work, when I found a reference that made absolutely no sense. It was a Cravantine military report filed by Commander Threskull 3 days before the Battle of Proxima Station. The entire report was standard procedure stuff. Lists of supplies, troop movements, tactical assessments, but at the bottom, handwritten in what our translation algorithms identified as extreme urgency, were 4 words: Marcus Hale is coming. That was it. No context, no explanation, just those 4 words, and according to the metadata, Threskull filed this report, and then immediately requested a transfer to literally any other combat zone in the galaxy. His request was denied. He died 2 days later at Proxima Station. So naturally, being the curious fool that I am, I started digging. You have to understand something about the Cravantine War. When it started, it was supposed to last maybe 6 months. The Cravantines had superior numbers, superior technology, and 300 years of continuous military success. Humans. The war lasted 11 years, and by the end of it the Cravantine Empire was begging for peace terms. How? Marcus Hale. That is how. I found my first real piece of information in a tactical database that had been sealed for security reasons. Apparently, those security reasons expired after 3 centuries, and nobody bothered to check the archives, because, well, who cares about old wars, right? Wrong again. The file was a Cravantine intelligence briefing, dated 2 years into the war. By this point, Cravantines were starting to realize they might have made a slight miscalculation. The briefing was about human special operations units, and let me tell you, the agent who wrote this thing was clearly having some kind of mental breakdown while typing. Here, let me quote directly, because my translation cannot possibly do justice to the original terror. Subject: Marcus Hale. Human designation serial number 7739 Delta. Age: 28 standard years. Height 6 feet 2 inches human measurement. Weight 195 pounds. Current status: extremely alive and extremely problematic. Threat level: beyond assessment scale. Recommend immediate orbital bombardment of any sector he is confirmed to be operating in, followed by complete planetary evacuation of our forces. Orbital bombardment of their own occupied territories, just to maybe kill 1 human. A human who, according to the physical stats, was not even particularly large by their species standards. The report continued. Hale has personally eliminated 417 Cravantine soldiers in the past 8 months. Methods include but are not limited to conventional weapons, improvised explosives, biological warfare, psychological warfare, information warfare, and in 3 documented cases, his bare hands, he has destroyed 6 command centers, 12 supply depots, and 1 orbital defense platform. Current whereabouts, unknown. Assumed locations everywhere. Everywhere. They literally did not know where he was, so they just assumed he could be anywhere. That is the kind of fear we are talking about. But here is where it gets really interesting, because I found a communication log between two Creventine officers, and they were talking about something that happened at a forward operating base called Outpost Meridian. "Did you hear what happened at Meridian?" the first officer asked. "I heard rumors. Something about hail," the second one responded. "Not something. Everything." He walked into the base, alone, walked right through the front gate at 0300 hours. "That is impossible. Meridian has sensors, automated defenses, 300 soldiers." Had past tense. He walked in, and nobody stopped him because by the time they realized he was not supposed to be there, he was already standing in the command center. He had bypassed every single security system, walked past 24 guards, and nobody noticed because he was wearing our uniform and walking like he owned the place. So what happened? He stood in the command center for 5 minutes. Just stood there. Commander Velcara asked him what he wanted. You know what he said? "What?" he said. "I wanted to see if I could." Then he left. Just walked back out. Nobody stopped him because they were too terrified. Velcara ordered a complete evacuation 6 hours later. The entire base abandoned because everyone there realized that if he could walk in like that once, he could do it again. And next time, maybe he would not just be looking around. I sat there reading this exchange, and my hands were shaking. This was not just a soldier. This was psychological warfare on a level that should not be possible. He broke an entire military installation without firing a single shot. But it gets better, or worse depending on your perspective. I found a personal journal, written by a Creventine logistics officer named Jektar. Poor Jektar. He was just trying to do his job managing supply lines and transport schedules. His journal entries started normal enough, complaining about the usual military bureaucracy, ration shortages, bad weather on occupied planets. Then I got to an entry from year 7 of the war. "We lost another convoy today. Third one this month. Always the same route. They vanished somewhere between Outpost Gamma and Firebase Echo. No distress signals, no wreckage, just gone. Command says it is hail. Everyone says it is hail. But how? It is a 3-day journey through empty space. There is nowhere to hide. No planets. No stations. Nothing. So how is he taking entire convoys?" The next entry, 4 days later. "I figured it out. Ooh, ancestors. I figured it out. And I wish I had not. We sent reconnaissance drones along the convoy route. They found the ships. All of them. Drifting crews dead. But here is the thing. The ships were still on course, still traveling to their destinations. Hail was not destroying the convoys. He was boarding them, killing everyone on board, then just leaving the ships to drift with their dead crews still inside on autopilot, heading right toward our bases. 3 ships full of corpses docked at Firebase Echo yesterday before anyone realized. The panic was unbelievable. How many more are coming? How many dead ships are traveling through our supply lines right now? We do not know. We cannot know. And Hale knows we cannot know. This is not warfare. This is terrorism. I had to take a break after reading that. Got myself some Kalashi tea, stared at a wall for about an hour, questioned my life choices. Then I went back to the archives, because I am apparently a masochist. Here is what I learned. Marcus Hale was not special forces. Not initially. He was a regular infantry soldier, enlisted at age 18, standard tour of duty. When the Craventines invaded, he was stationed at some backwater colony doing security patrols. Boring work. Then the Creventines hit his colony during the first wave of the invasion. They killed everyone. Men, women, children, did not matter. The Creventines do not believe in prisoners. They believe in examples. They turned that colony into radioactive glass as a message to other human settlements. Marcus Hale was off-world on leave when it happened. His wife and daughter were not. Oh, yeah, that information changed everything. See, the Creventines made a lot of mistakes during that war, but that was the big one. Because after that, Marcus Hale stopped being a soldier. He became something else entirely. The humans have a saying: before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. The idea being that revenge will destroy you too. Very philosophical, very wise. Marcus Hale heard that saying and decided to dig several thousand graves instead. And here is the thing. He had absolutely no intention of climbing into one of them. I found training records. After the colony massacre, Hale volunteered for every single dangerous assignment the human military offered. Demolitions expert course. Done. Infiltration specialist training. Done. Survival training in hostile environments. Done. Psychological operations. Done. The man turned himself into a walking nightmare through sheer determination and spite. But the really scary part, he was good at it. Not just good. Exceptional. His instructors kept leaving notes in his file like "subject shows unusual aptitude for stealth operations and demonstrates concerning lack of fear response in high-stress scenarios, and my personal favorite, recommend immediate promotion and also maybe therapy." He never got the therapy. He did get the promotions. By year 3 of the war, Marcus Hale was officially classified as a special operations contractor, which is military speak for "we cannot control this guy anymore, but he is too useful to stop." They gave him near complete autonomy, just pointed him at Craventine targets and got out of his way. The results were spectacular. And by spectacular I mean absolutely horrifying if you were a Craventine. I found an audio recording. Just pure luck, really. It was in a damaged data core that we recovered from a destroyed Craventine cruiser. Most of the core was corrupted, but this one file survived intact. It was a conversation between a Craventine patrol leader and his squad, recorded on their helmet cameras. The patrol was searching a human settlement that had been recently captured. 15 soldiers, all experienced veterans, full combat gear, sensor equipment, the works. They were doing a standard sweep for resistance fighters. The recording starts normal, soldiers calling out clear signals, checking corners, standard procedure. Then one of them says, "Did anyone else hear that?" Silence for about 5 seconds. Then another voice, "Hear what?" "I do not know. Something, movement maybe." Scanners show nothing. Building is clear. Yeah, okay. Must be imagining things." They continue the sweep. 3 minutes pass. And the same soldier, "There it is again. Someone is in here with us. I am telling you, scanners are clear. Nothing living in this building except us." "Then your scanners are broken because I definitely heard footsteps." The patrol leader's voice, trying to sound calm, "Everyone stay alert. Keep moving. Stay together." They move to the next room. You can hear their breathing, their equipment rustling, their footsteps on metal floors. Then suddenly one of them screams, just a short, cut-off scream, followed by a thud. "What happened? Report." "Jaxel is down. He is down. I do not see anything." "Where did it come from?" Panic in their voices now. Real, genuine terror. They are firing weapons, shouting, running. But here is the thing. The helmet cameras show nothing. Just empty rooms and corridors. But every minute or so, another scream, another soldier gone, and the others never see what takes them. By the end of the recording, there is only one soldier left. The patrol leader. He is backed into a corner, weapon pointed at shadows, breathing fast, probably having a full panic attack. Then a voice, human voice, speaking perfect Craventine language. "You know what the funny thing is?" The patrol leader spins around, camera showing an empty hallway. The voice continues. "I was not even here for you. I was just passing through, but you walked into my hiding spot, so here we are. Show yourself," the patrol leader shouts. "Already did. You just were not paying attention." Silence. Just the patrol leader's breathing. Then, "Go home. Tell your commanders that this colony is mine now. Tell them Marcus Hale claims this territory. Tell them that if they send more soldiers, I will send them back in boxes. One piece at a time. Do you understand?" Yes, I understand." "Good. Now run." The recording ends with the patrol leader sprinting through corridors, crashing through doors, not stopping until he is outside and halfway to his transport ship. That recording spread through the Craventine military like a virus. Morale dropped 40% in the following month. Soldiers started refusing assignments in human-controlled territories. Officers started filing transfers, and all because of one recording of one encounter with one human. The Craventine High Command tried to counter the fear by offering a bounty. 10 million credits for Marcus Hale. Dead or alive, they did not care which. They publicized it across all military channels, even sent the offer to independent bounty hunters and mercenaries. 372 beings tried to claim that bounty over the next 2 years. None of them succeeded. 41 of them never came back at all. The rest came back with variations of the same story. They tracked Hale to a location, set up their ambush, waited for him to appear, and then nothing. He never showed up, but later, sometimes hours later, sometimes days later, they would find a message. Sometimes it was carved into a wall. Sometimes it was displayed on their ship's computer. Sometimes it was written in the dust on their windshield. The message was always the same. I know where you sleep. That is it. 5 words. But apparently that was enough, because all those bounty hunters immediately collected their gear and left human space as fast as their engines could carry them. The war ended in year 11. The Craventines agreed to a complete withdrawal from human territory, reparations, and a non-aggression pact that basically gave humans whatever they wanted. The official history says it was because of human military innovation, superior tactics, and strong defensive positions. That is partially true, but I found the classified treaty negotiations the real reason the Craventines surrendered. They were terrified. Specifically, they were terrified of Marcus Hale and what he represented, because if humans could produce one Marcus Hale, what happened if they produced 1,000, 10,000? The Craventine High Council did not want to find out, so they surrendered, packed up, left, never came back. And Marcus Hale, he vanished, just stopped appearing in any records. No discharge papers, no retirement benefits, no death certificate. He simply ceased to exist in any official capacity 3 days after the peace treaty was signed. Most people assume he died, probably on some classified mission that will stay classified forever. Makes sense, right? Soldier that dangerous probably did not live long enough to retire peacefully. But I found something else. One last file. It was marked as a personal log, no official status, filed by a human merchant captain named Torres. Dated 30 years after the war ended. Torres wrote, "Stopped at a colony on the edge of nowhere. Garden world, mostly farmers and miners. Maybe 3,000 people total. Got my cargo delivered and was having a drink at the local bar when this old guy sits down next to me. Must have been in his late 50s, maybe early 60s. Weathered face, quiet demeanor, working man's hands. The chat for a bit. He asks where I have been, where I am going. Normal small talk. Then he sees my ship's registration on my data pad. Military surplus transport, refitted for civilian use. He smiles, says he used to work on ships like that back during the war. I ask which war, even though I know. He just says, the only one that mattered. Then he finishes his drink, pays for mine and leaves. Never got his name, but as he walks out, I see something. A tattoo on his forearm, just barely visible under his sleeve. Serial number 7739 Delta. I sat there for about 10 minutes, not breathing, before my brain caught up with what I had just seen. Then I finished my drink very quickly and got the hell off that planet. If someone asks me if I believe Marcus Hale survived the war, yeah. I think he is exactly where he wants to be. Somewhere quiet, somewhere peaceful, somewhere nobody will ever bother looking. Good for him. I checked. That colony still exists. Still quiet, still peaceful. Population has grown to about 6,000 now. That could go there. Could try to verify. Could try to find out if Marcus Hale really is still alive, living out his days as some anonymous farmer on the edge of nowhere. But I am not going to do that. Know why? Because I am not stupid, and because some legends are better left alone. His war ended centuries ago. But the stars still remember his name, and so do we, even if we pretend we do not. So, remember when I said I was not going to that colony to verify if Marcus Hale was still alive? Yeah, well, I lied. Sort of. Not intentionally, mind you. But the universe has a really twisted sense of humor, and apparently it decided that I needed to learn that lesson the hard way. 3 weeks after finding that merchant captain's log, I got assigned to a routine documentation mission. Some colony on the Outer Rim needed their historical records digitized for the Galactic Archives. Standard procedure. Boring work. Easy money. The colony's name, New Haven. Population 6,000 and change. Location the absolute middle of nowhere. You see where this is going, right? Because I sure did not. Not until I landed and saw the registration beacon ID matched the colony from Torres's log. Then I just sat in my ship for about 20 minutes, having what I can only describe as a small existential crisis. I could leave, file a report saying the colonist refused cooperation. Happens sometimes. Nobody would question it. I could just fire up my engines and get the hell out of there before I accidentally stumbled across a legend who probably wanted to stay hidden. But here is the thing about historians. We are nosy. Catastrophically, stupidly, dangerously nosy. It is like a disease. So naturally, I grabbed my datapads and headed into town, telling myself I was just doing my job and definitely not looking for a retired super soldier who may or may not still be alive. New Haven was exactly what you would expect from a frontier colony. One main street, maybe 20 buildings total, prefab structures mixed with locally built additions, farm equipment parked everywhere, dirt road, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, and strangers get noticed immediately. I got noticed. Oh, I got noticed hard. Within 5 minutes of walking down that main street, I had at least a dozen humans watching me, not hostile, just curious. Polite nods, a few greetings, but definitely watching. Made my scales itch. I found the administrative office, which was really just someone's house, with a sign out front. A woman answered the door. Late, 40s, sun-weathered skin, kind eyes, wearing work clothes covered in what I later learned was something called potato dirt. Her name was Linda Vex. Yes, Vex. Apparently some humans like short, punchy surnames. She was the colony administrator, which meant she did everyone's paperwork when she was not farming. You must be the archivist, she said, smiling. Come in. Come in. Sorry about the mess. Harvest season, you know how it is. I did not know how it was. I am from a species that has not farmed anything in 3,000 years, but I nodded politely and followed her inside. We spent the next 2 hours going through colony records, birth certificates, land deeds, crop reports, maintenance logs. Mind-numbing stuff. Linda kept apologizing for how disorganized everything was, but honestly, it was fine. I have seen worse. Then we got to the census records. And there it was. Line 143. Name Marcus Hale. Age 359 years old. Occupation retired. Medical status surprisingly good for someone who should be dead. I stared at that line for so long that Linda asked if I was okay. This person, I said, keeping my voice carefully neutral. Marcus Hale, he is 359 years old. Linda laughed. Oh yeah, Mark. He is our oldest resident by about 3 centuries. Medical miracle, really. The doctors cannot figure it out. He just keeps going. Healthy as someone a third his age. Must be good genetics or something. Mark. She called him Mark. Like he was just some regular neighbor, not a walking nightmare that once made an entire empire surrender. Is he? I could not form a coherent sentence. My translator was working fine. My brain was. Linda gave me a curious look. You okay? You look a little pale? Well, paler than usual. Is that offensive? Sorry. I do not meet many Vortians. I am fine, I lied. Just surprised. 359 is extremely old for a human. Tell me about it. We throw him a birthday party every year. He always complains that we are making too much fuss. She smiled fondly. He is a good man. Keeps to himself mostly, but he will help anyone who needs it. Fixed my irrigation system last month. Refused payment. Said he was bored. Bored. Marcus Hale, the terror of the Craventine Empire, was bored. So he fixed irrigation systems for free. I do not know what I expected, but it was not that. Would it be possible to interview him? I asked. For the historical records. Someone who has lived that long must have interesting stories. Linda's expression shifted. Just slightly. A little more guarded. Mark does not really like talking about his past. He is pretty private about that stuff. Of course, I said quickly. I understand. I just thought, for posterity. She studied me for a moment. Really studied me like she was trying to figure out if I was a threat. Then she sighed. Tell you what, there is a community dinner tonight, at the meeting hall. Mark usually shows up for those. You can meet him then. But please, do not push him about his past. He has been through enough. He has been through enough. The understatement of the century. I agreed. Spent the rest of the afternoon finishing the documentation work, but my mind was elsewhere. I was going to meet Marcus Hale. The human who once boarded a Craventine warship alone, killed the entire crew and then flew the ship to the nearest Craventine base and crashed it into their fuel depot before escaping on a stolen shuttle. That Marcus Hale. And apparently he was going to be at a potluck dinner. The meeting hall was exactly what it sounds like. Big open room, tables arranged in rows, humans bringing in food and chatting, normal, peaceful, the kind of scene you would find on 1,000 different colonies across the galaxy. I arrived right on time, carrying some store-bought fruit that Linda assured me would be acceptable. Felt weird bringing food to a dinner when I do not even eat human food, but customs are customs. Linda waved me over to a table. Mark should be here soon, he is always late. Says it is because he walks slow these days. But I think he just likes making an entrance. 10 minutes later, the door opened. And there he was. Marcus Hale looked old. I mean really old. Wrinkled face, white hair, slight stoop to his posture. He walked with a cane, wore simple clothes, nothing fancy. Looked like someone's grandfather. Harmless. Gentle. But his eyes, oh, ancestors help me. His eyes. They were sharp, alert, scanning the room with the kind of casual awareness that only comes from decades of staying alive in situations where you probably should have died. Those eyes landed on me for exactly 1 second, assessed me completely, categorized me as non-threat and moved on. I stopped breathing for that entire second. He made his way to the food table, exchanged greetings with various colonists, smiled at some children who ran up to show him something. Completely normal, completely ordinary. Linda called him over. Mark, this is Vorath. He is from the Galactic Archives, here to digitize our records. Vorath, this is Marcus Hale. He extended his hand. Human greeting gesture. I shook it. His grip was firm. Very firm. Like shaking hands with a mechanical vice that was pretending to be gentle. Pleasure to meet you, he said. His voice was rough, worn by age, but steady. Linda tells me you are a historian. Must be interesting work. It has its moments, I managed to say. He smiled. I bet. Learn anything fascinating about our little colony. There it was, the test. He knew. Of course he knew. Probably knew the moment I landed. Probably ran a background check on me before I finished my first interview with Linda. This was him giving me a chance to either acknowledge what I knew or play dumb. I decided on honesty. Seemed safer. I learned that you are much older than you look. His smile widened. Clean living and spite. Best anti-aging remedy there is. Linda laughed. Mark's secret is that he is too stubborn to die. That too, he agreed. He gestured to an empty chair. Mind if I sit? Old knees and all that. We sat. Made small talk. Weather, crops, colony politics. Normal stuff. But the entire time I could feel him evaluating me. Not threatening, just aware, like a predator that is retired but has not forgotten how to hunt. After about 20 minutes he leaned back in his chair and said casually, So, when are you going to ask me about the war? Linda's eyes went wide. Several nearby conversations stopped. The temperature in the room seemed to drop about 10 degrees. I swallowed. My mouth was suddenly very dry. I was not planning to. Liar, he said, but he was still smiling. You are a historian. You found something in the archives. Something about me. Otherwise you would not look like you are about to molt from stress. So go ahead. Ask. Everyone was staring now. The entire room had gone silent, waiting. I took a breath. Were you really at the Battle of Proxima Station? Yes. Did you really infiltrate Outpost Meridian alone? Yes. Did you really claim an entire colony as your personal territory and defend it against Craventine occupation for 8 months? Yep. That was a fun winter. Fun? He called it fun. I wanted to scream. Why, I asked. Why did you do all of that? The war ended 3 centuries ago. You could have retired, could have lived peacefully. Why keep fighting the way you did? The smile faded. For the first time he looked his actual age. Tired. Sad. Because they took everything from me, my wife, my daughter, my home, and I decided that was not acceptable. So I made them regret it. Silence. Complete, Absolute silence. Then a child's voice from across the room, "What happened to the bad aliens, Mr. Mark?" He looked over at the kid. The sadness vanished, replaced by something gentler. "They left, and they never came back, because they learned that some fights are not worth winning." "Did you win?" the kid asked. "We all did, kiddo. That is why you get to grow up here safe and sound." The kid seemed satisfied with that answer. The room slowly returned to normal conversation, but I could not let it go. "How?" I asked quietly. "How did you survive all of that? The records say you should have died a dozen times over." He looked at me. Really looked at me. And for just a moment I saw what the Craventines must have seen, something dangerous, something that refused to quit. "I survived because I had to," he said simply. "Someone needed to make sure those bastards paid for what they did. And once that job was done, I survived because I wanted to see what came next." Turns out, what came next was pretty good. Got myself a little farm, good neighbors, quiet life, not bad for an old soldier. "Do you have any regrets?" I asked. He thought about that for a long moment. "I regret that it was necessary. I regret that I had to become what I became, but I do not regret doing it." Does that make sense? It did. In a horrible, tragic, completely understandable way, it did. "One more question," I said. "Are you the only one? Were there others like you?" He laughed. Actually laughed. "Oh, ancestors. No, I was just one soldier. There were thousands like me, tens of thousands. Humans who lost everything and decided to fight back. I just happened to be good at it, and I happened to get noticed. But I was never alone in that war. Never." That information hit me like a physical blow. Thousands. Tens of thousands of Marcus Hales, all fighting with the same determination, the same skill, the same absolute refusal to surrender. No wonder the Craventines surrendered. They were not fighting an army. They were fighting a species that had collectively decided to become the thing that monsters check under their beds for. The dinner continued. I ate nothing, because Vorthian digestion and human food do not mix. But I stayed, listened, watched. Marcus Hales spent the evening being exactly what he appeared to be, a friendly old man who told bad jokes, complained about his arthritis, and helped clean up after dinner. As I was leaving, he walked me to the door. Slow steps, leaning on his cane, looking every bit his 359 years. "You are going to write about this, are you not?" he asked. "It is my job," I said. He nodded. "Thought so. Well, if you do, make sure you get it right." I was not special. I was just angry. And I was not alone. Every human who fought in that war has a story. Mine just happened to scare people more than most. "Why tell me all this? You could have refused. Could have stayed anonymous." He smiled. "Because I am old and because I want people to remember. Not me specifically, but what happened. Why it happened. So maybe, just maybe, it does not happen again." He extended his hand again. I shook it. "Safe travels, historian. And do me a favor. Next time you find a war story in your archives, remember that behind every terrifying legend is just a person who was pushed too far and decided to push back." I left New Haven the next morning. Spent the entire flight back to the archives processing what I had learned. Marcus Hale was real. He was alive, and he was exactly what I expected and nothing like what I expected, all at the same time. I wrote my report. Professional, thorough, documented every source, included the interview, with his permission. The archives accepted it, filed it away with the millions of other historical documents we maintain. But I also wrote something else. A personal analysis. Not for the official records, just for myself, and now I suppose, for you, because you need to understand something about humans that most species still do not get, even after centuries of interaction. Humans are not naturally aggressive. They are not warriors by design. Most of them want exactly what Marcus Hale found. A quiet life, a safe home, people they care about. They are farmers and engineers and artists and parents. But if you push them, if you take away the things they love, if you force them to choose between surrender and survival, they will choose survival, and they will be terrifyingly, devastatingly effective at it. The Craventine Empire learned this lesson the hard way. They came to Earth expecting easy conquest. Instead, they got Marcus Hale. They got thousands of Marcus Hale. They got an entire species that collectively decided death was preferable to subjugation. And here is the scariest part. That war was 300 years ago. Humans have had 300 years to get better at warfare, better at technology, better at strategy. But most importantly, they have had 300 years to remember what happens when someone threatens their homes. So yeah, Marcus Hale's war ended centuries ago. But his legacy, that is still very much alive. Every human military officer studies his tactics. Every human colony has protocols based on lessons learned from his operations. Every human child grows up hearing stories about the human who scared an empire into surrender. The Craventines never came back. No other species has tried to invade human space since. Coincidence? I do not think so. I visited New Haven one more time about 6 months after my first trip. Told myself it was to follow up on some documentation, but really I just wanted to check in. Make sure Marcus was still there, still okay. He was sitting on his porch when I arrived, drinking something hot from a mug, watching the sunset. He saw me coming and waved. "Back again?" he called out. "Starting to think you like this place? It is growing on me," I admitted. He gestured to an empty chair. "Sit. Stay a while. Sunsets are nice this time of year." So I sat. We watched the sun go down over fields of crops, listened to the sound of a peaceful colony settling in for the evening. Did not talk much. Did not need to. Before I left, he said, "Thank you." "For what?" I asked. "For getting it right. For understanding." Not many people would. I did not know what to say to that. So I just nodded. As I walked back to my ship, I realized something. Marcus Hale was not scary because he was dangerous. He was scary because he was normal, because he proved that any human, given the right circumstances, could become what he became, and that if you threatened their homes, their families, their way of life, he would respond with overwhelming force and zero hesitation. His war ended centuries ago, but that lesson is eternal. The stars remember his name, the galaxy remembers what he represented, and every species that knows the story learns the same thing. Do not threaten humans. Do not invade their worlds. Do not hurt their families, because if you do, you might just create another Marcus Hale, and trust me, one was more than enough. He is still alive, as far as I know. Still living on New Haven, fixing irrigation systems and attending community dinners. Still just a friendly old man who tells bad jokes and complains about his arthritis. But sometimes, late at night, I think about those eyes. Sharp, alert, watching. And I am very, very glad that humans are on our side now. Because the alternative does not bear thinking about. Sleep well, galaxy. Marcus Hale is keeping watch. And after 300 years, he still has not forgotten how